But then the Mark III ones are like all the time clones. Mark III and 4, they're up all the time. They're better quality clones. The Mark II ones don't like live very long. Mark II and 3, I guess, they don't they degrade over a short amount of time. Like their skin gets rashy, and the thing is, whenever you get the sample from someone, you can clone them at that age. Like I don't know how, but I guess your blood knows how old you are, and to get a blood sample or tissue sample of you, they just make you, and it's the same age as when they got it, the sample. So yeah.
So if you use so for example, the DNA from a human at X amount of age, and you put it into and you mix it with the DNA of something that's a different amount of age, what age will the clone be exactly?
I'm not exactly sure how that works. But the thing is, when they slam your consciousness into a clone that isn't the same age as you, or that isn't like the same kind of body type as you, it's more confusing to walk around. And some people can't do anything. They start pulling out their hair and fall on the ground and roll around. So they always keep it like a recent clone. They like to use recent clones of themselves because they act less loopy.
Okay, so do any of the clones ever go to into adulthood?
Oh, yeah, well, there's a really good clone out now. They never told me about it very much. They just call it a double. And it's supposed to be just like a person, but yeah, I don't know a lot about it because they never told me a lot. But the Mark II ones, they don't last. They have to get like new bodies like I heard it was like every year, but I guess it's like every 2 years, and some people last longer, but their brain capacity like degrades. Like that time you saw Eminem in that video, and he was like slurred speech, like he had low blood sugar or something. That's what they go like when they need a new clone. And they'll say that they went to rehab. Like they'll go in looking all messed up, and they'll come out like 2 months, 3 months later, and they'll look like more beefy and skin color a little different. And they're like, oh, he just ate well in rehab. No. You know what it is.
Maybe he just had low blood sugar that day. Maybe that's all it was.
Maybe that's it.
Well, he could be recuperating from an MK Ultra mind control experiment, but according to you down in Marshall, they don't do those anymore. Is that correct?
No, I guess they still do to control people. But you don't know everything that MK does. There's other applications, man. Like there's a video audio thing that goes along with it. It's called mind voice. Some people call it artificial telepathy. I heard about this when I was a kid, and I was like, that's not possible to do. You see, I'll tell you about it, and you're lucky to know, just because no one's going to tell you. Like you can read about it on the net. They disclosed it, and people are like, oh, yeah, sure, they have this, right? People think they have to put suction cups all over the head. No. When you're a clone there, though, they can just put a chip right in your head and in the clone's head and read it like that. Listen, I'll tell you what the artificial telepathy does. Most people think in their own head, formulate things in their own voice in their head. They think to themselves, oh, man, I'm hungry. I could go to the fridge and make a sandwich right now. And they think that sound in their own head. A lot of people do. Most people do. Now, they have a technology which allows them to eavesdrop and listen in on that. It's a deviation from MK, right? And then there's the control MK stuff with the trigger words and stuff. That's a different spin-off side of it. It has different applications. Now, listen, once you train with this, you can sit in front of a speaker that's dedicated to your own mind voice, all right? Now, you can think in your own head a sound, anything. Listen. Think in your own head. There was no sound. Nobody heard anything, but you put that in your own head. You can make that sound come out of the friggin' speaker because the NSA can eavesdrop in on you that hard. It's not just cell phones, man. It's terrible. You can't even think. And then there's visuals. The visual thing is harder to explain, but the audio thing is just that. You can sit in front of a speaker and play your own thoughts to yourself. Now, what they had me doing, how you said, how do you use MK to help you make songs? Well, I'll tell you. If I was going to tell you, but then you started getting mean, you know. Anyway, you think of a sound. Yes, you have a guitar player. I don't know how to play guitar. Like, I know chords and stuff, but cut no riffs, right, with a guitar. If you have a guy stand in front of you at the cloning center, play the guitar, right? You can replay that sound in your own head, in your memory of what that guitar just sounded like. And it comes out of the speaker again. And then you can twist it and augment it, change it, add to it. Then you can add a drum line in the background. You can do this with the aid of this chip in your head as a clone. And I'm supposed to have chips in my body, too. That James Casbolt guy got chips in him, too. He wants to say about all the stuff. But the thing is, and I want him to say, too, I want him to say, listen, I've been sitting there at the cloning place watching this bloke make songs and getting stabbed. I want him to say that, but see, then when he goes to sleep tonight, he's going to have to answer to all the cloners as to why he said that, like Tila Tequila did when she went on this same Blog Talk Radio and talked about cloning centers. They really scared her bad that night at cloning when she went to sleep, and probably terrified her bad enough to take 5 years off her life seriously with what they did. But, yeah, she's gone now. She's not going to talk cloning anymore. And she doesn't like me now because I got her in trouble with the Illuminati and the cloners and stuff. And, yeah, nobody's jumping on that. Where's Tila? Tila's disappeared. Oh, the Illuminati got her. Nobody seems to really care. And that pisses her off, too. Because I've talked to her at cloning, like, weeks ago, and, yeah, she's kind of pissed about that. But anyway, yeah.
How is the health of the clowns? Are they healthy, or do they have like any health issues?
Well, they get kind of rashy. Like, it's weird. Different types have different ailments, but I don't really know that much about it because whenever I'm there, I'm in like a fresh clone, and usually end up getting smashed up or something, and they'll just throw the old clone in like this big chipper, like big, looks like a big garbage disposal, and they just chuck them in there, and they get ground up and go down somewhere down pipes. But yeah, they make 20 clones of you at a time and pick out the best ones, right? Because it doesn't cost very much, so they just set 20 tanks on growing just yous, and then they pick out the best 5 and use them and throw the rest in the chipper because they don't care. They don't cost that much. They just grow. Like a chia pet. They just leave it. Freaking grows. It's like they have to turn the bodies every once in a while, like in the tank, like the Britney Spears tank looking thing there. They got to turn them feet side up, and then they got to turn them head side up, and, yeah, clean up the tanks and all that.
I don't mean to step in, but I think Cole was trying to say something. Cole?
Yeah. If anybody, I see other people in the studio. If anybody else has a question for Donald, just hit the number 1 on your touch-tone phone to talk to Donald if you have questions.
I don't think too many people have questions. Like, everybody pretty much knows what's going on. Like, I can ease a couple of minds. Like, in the beginning, when I said there was no aliens, that was all part of my multi-phase plan. Because in number 1, if I would have went in my letter, see, I was really desperate to get out of this place and expose it all. If I would have started my letter saying the Royals are a bunch of pedophiles, which the pedophile investigation was not on at that time, by the way. People told me I was crazy to call the royal family a bunch of pedophiles, and then they came back later. Like, yeah, it was funny because everybody knows what they're down with now. So they're like, wow, he was right about them, and might be right about this other stuff, and all these other things keep on popping up in the news, and it's like corroborating my whole info thing, and it's after I already said it. So it's not like I'm digging on the internet for material here, you guys, because I kind of said it beforehand, and then they make this post where they're gonna do this or that. And
well, what I'm going to state here is that I don't think that as of 2008 that pedophilia in government positions was anything new. I mean, the Franklin cover-up was well known as far back as the early 80s. So I don't think you expose anything new by exposing pedophilia, whether in the British royal family or the Canadian or the American government. That's really not news. And you kind of danced around the quest. You were going to say something about why you changed your story about aliens, and then you turned it into pedophilia.
Okay, I trailed off a little bit.
You're fine. I know it probably wasn't intentional, but
I had a multi-phase plan. You see, if I started the first letter saying, they were doing this, and there's this other stuff, cloning, and then there's grills and their hosts, and then there's these other things, the letter would have been long, and people would have looked at it, and it would have been an overload of information. So I made phase 1 to include cloning, phase 2 to do other stuff, phase 3 to do other stuff, and, I had to... phase 3 was grill and house, so I never actually ever did do phase 2. That was where I was going to name a bunch of celebrities, but I did that on an ongoing basis. So, what point was I trying to make there? I kind of forgot what I was saying there. I started thinking about Queen Elizabeth's face for some reason. It stunned me. So I had to make different phases so that people wouldn't get overload of information. So in the beginning, effectively for me, there were no aliens, and I didn't know which were the aliens and which weren't. Like, I knew that the real type 1s were, because when they make splice things, the scales are all messed up, but these scales look like natural and stuff, and then eventually I found out all about them. They told me all about them. You're going to see them eventually.
Donald, I have a question. There was one of my friends came to me and told me to look up the pro boards, and there was a post where I guess she asked you a question, and you went, I don't know if you answered her or not, but she got off your page, or you kicked her out, one of the two. And then
I wouldn't
you
say
started.
her out.
Well, and then you started to say that you saw her at the cloning center with her famous, famous cousin, Leanne Womack, and she's never met her cousin at all.
That was
in
wonderful.
Real life.
Well, she's met her at cloning. Yeah, they talk. That was an episode. That was very unfortunate. Like, she was very confident that I would never ever bring this to the light of day, so she could bug me there as much as she wanted. But she does bug me now. The thing is, that was a different time, by the way. The Leanne Womack thing and the girl from the forum, that was two different girls. But the Leanne Womack one was worse. It was something else Womack. Leanne Womack's the country singer cousin.
Who was that her cousin?
Well,
it's about a girl named Carrie Lynn Womack.
Cara Lynn Womack. That's
right. And she's never met you at all in real life. She's only met you because she wanted to believe, your story, like most of us want to.
Oh, she's there. She's there. You can't mistake her when you see her. I don't know. She tried to beat me up as clones. Did me all kinds. Some crazy shit. And the next day, that night, I said, wow, I can't believe that's really you, because sometimes they impersonate people there. I said, I'm telling everybody about this. And she goes, I don't care. People ain't going to believe you anyway. I'm like, yes, they will eventually. So the next day, I came to my page. She'd already blocked me. There was no discussion or anything. She just already blocked me. So, I don't know. Draw your own conclusions. I hadn't said anything to her. I just woke up, clicked over to the laptop. Wow, she's blocked me. And I hadn't said anything before this. So,